the book on the Facebook. We'll wait for a second for the 5,000 people that's gonna show up because we know how y'all do it. We know how you like to show up for us. We're gonna hold on, people that be trying to be deep. We're gonna hold on and wait for these thousands of people. Oh, I gotta tag you, Bishop. I forgot to tag you, brother. What's up, Facebook family? I hope everybody's doing well tonight. And for those of you who will be watching at another time, welcome to the Bishop and I. I am I. He is the Bishop. And it's good to be here again. Man, as I always say, brother, I always want the world to know how much I appreciate you, man. Just as a brother standing up for the things that matter in our community. You a pastor that's really out here doing the work in real life. I'm honored to know you. Every week I want to tell folks how, for real, man, it's a blessing, man. It's a blessing to have you in my life. And I'm grateful for the work that you do, man. Thank you for standing up and being a strong brother, man. It's that's impressive. And you encourage me when you do things. I love to see you doing the work in the community. It's good. So I just want the folks to know, man, you are loved, brother. You are loved.
Amen. Likewise. And really appreciate everything.
Same thing as every week. Every week. We've been doing this almost a year, and every single week. That's how I know God is real, because it's just consistency.
Because I'd be in a rush trying to tag on, trying to get all your catch up with tags and share it and everything else. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, we got to turn this down. I was trying to turn this down earlier.
Hey, we getting old. But, we getting old.
Yeah, but really appreciate you. Everything that you do, the work that you do, and everything, know how it goes, man. And I really feel that I can speak out and have somebody to get my back. It feels good to know that somebody got your back, right? And I got your back, and I know you got my back, and that's really what true loyalty and friendship is all about. Getting each other's back and holding each other accountable. So really appreciate that, and understanding each other. You know what I mean? Being able to talk and be able to connect and work through things, whatever we're trying to talk about or work on and do and things like that. Whatever's going on in the community, help each other understand from our vantage point what we're doing and get each other understanding so that we can get on board and work together on what we need to do. So really appreciate that, especially for a long haul, because it's hard to hold on to people that will love you and respect you after they know who you really are, And so really appreciate that, because you continue to keep it real. Like, oh, okay, I can be me.
I try to not cuss, man. You know what I'm saying? The Bishop and I try to I still am a Christian. I'm known to preach a little bit, and sometimes I just get really frustrated. But, so one of the things that so we always talk about the shirts. One of the topics we're going to talk about is Colin Kaepernick, the situation there, because I think it's extremely relevant. I had this shirt from a long time ago when he first protested. I did it, and so I've been with Cap for since the moment he started protesting. I've been with Colin Kaepernick. I've supported the protest. I support any protest against racism, against any of the isms that we see. I'm against that. I would protest any injustice, and we believe that. And one of the things that we talk a lot about is, we're both Christians, but one of the marks that I believe identifies believers is the fact that we recognize the image of God on everybody, and everybody deserves dignity. And so when we see people being treated through a racist lens by the police, I don't care who it is, we need to have their back. We need to say something about it as Christians. And so part of what we do is call out the church to stop being silent and sitting around and not saying nothing. We need to be out here protecting these image bearers and making sure that their rights are not being violated, and it don't matter. And it's unfortunate that what we see is a lot of the vultures in the community really just want to, their work really is about trying to get grant money. So we see people that'll sell out a whole community for $1,000, homie. You know what I mean? Come on, man. And so, we'll never do that. I sort of feel like the Apostle Paul that said, man, I don't ever want anybody to think what I'm doing it for the money. Right. I don't get paid for none of what we don't get paid for none of what we do. Right. So I'm with Cap, hashtag been with Cap. I'm gonna stay with Cap. I think I want to talk a little bit about that workout. if that's what you want to.
Yeah. I want to know a little bit more about it too, because I know you've been following that.
So tonight we're going to talk a little bit about gun control. That was what was supposed to be first, but I might as well go.
Not so much gun control, or gun violence.
Gun violence. Sorry about that. Let me change that title.
So you say gun control, they think you talking about changing policies.
Yeah, and that's not what we're trying to do.
Second Amendment rights and all that.
Yeah. No, that's not what we're trying to do. So with Colin Kaepernick, so one of the things he got a late a call from the NFL. We want to do a workout like Saturday. You know what I mean?
And I remember I read up on that.
You got 2 hours to say yes or no. So it was like, first of all, why are you doing a workout on Saturday? Right. And well, let me frame it by saying this. It trips me out to see people in our community that aren't willing to look at what this large billion-dollar corporation is doing to this brother.
Right.
It really frustrates me to see that we see injustice everywhere else in the United States by people who don't even have that kind of money. And somehow we think that there was a good gesture of the NFL to invite Colin Kaepernick to this workout. But they invited him to the workout.
Did he ever accept?
He accepted.
That's what I thought.
But it was all, but here's the terms though. Here's the terms. They wanted him to work out at the Falcons Stadium, which was a ways out. No media was allowed to come in. Mm-hmm. He wasn't allowed to use his receivers. Mm-hmm. He couldn't use his own coaches. Mm-hmm. And it's like, and then the biggest issue, the thing that people seem to not want to talk about, including Stephen A. Smith, who's been lying this whole time about.
I guess he's on a lot of fire. Right?
Yeah, and he should be. He should be held accountable. Shame on you for accepting that money to throw Colin Kaepernick under the bus. But this waiver that they wanted him to sign was not like the other waivers that they usually do. So what they were telling him was they wanted him to. One of the clause that made the biggest difference was they wanted him to sign away his rights to be able to sue the NFL for any further collusion, because that's what he sued for. That's what he got between 1 and 10 million. We don't know what that.
There's no guarantee of anything.
So here's the way one of the analyzers said, and his attorney said it would have been like, we would have been ridiculous to have our client sign this. There's no way we do that. Why? Because if he would have signed that, and if he would have sat with a team, say you own the whatever. You own whatever team, and you sit down and you interview Colin Kaepernick, and you say, so do you plan on kneeling for any of the rest of the games? You plan on doing that? And if Kaepernick says yes, then you can just not hire him or whatever and make that your reason for doing it or whatever. And then he can't come back and go, man, y'all, this is still the same collusion that we're doing. You sign that away. You can't say nothing. So we said, we're not doing that. So hour before the workout, he said, we're going to have it at a high school that was a little bit closer to the airport, and we're going to have media there. We're going to open it up to the public. We're going to have full transparency, media, the receivers that I know. You know what I mean? We're going, and he created a scenario for himself. And what Stephen A. Smith said, that, and this is a thing that when you watch his interview, you watch Stephen A. Smith's interview, he criticized him. Colin didn't take this seriously, and Colin Kaepernick wore a Kunta Kinte shirt. Said Kunta Kinte. And so and everybody know what that means. But instead of us in our community realizing, people like, man, you can't show up to a job if I'm trying to hire you and tell you and tell me how to hire you and what you're willing to do or not do. This is not like working at Walmart. He is an elite athlete, world-class athlete. He is going to show up and do like everybody else does. You can't keep making those excuses for why you don't want to hire him. You don't want to hire him because of the stance that he takes and because he's problematic. And so instead of us as a community recognizing that and rallying around him until we all know the truth, get his brother the benefit of the doubt. Everybody from Stephen A. Smith to some of the other, that clown, I can't think of the guys. What's the brother's name? The other analyzer, the fat guy. I can't remember what his name is. Never played a sport in his life.
Wear hats all the time.
Yeah. And so bottom line is, man, we need to give his brother the benefit of the doubt. We need to surround him with love from the community until we get some accountability, right? And so that's one part for me. That's one part for me that has frustrated me about the whole thing, is that Colin Kaepernick wore Kunta Kinte because he knows that really this is a big old show. And I feel like the NFL owners it kind of reminds me of how what they would have done to some of the stronger brothers during slavery that would want to, stand up to the system or whatever. They want to beat him and hang him and shoot him. They want to do it, but they can't.
Right.
They can't. They ran into somebody that got money,
right,
power, influence, and they can't do that. And so what they're hoping is they can turn our community and everybody else against them. So they try to put their own message out there and try to change the narrative, which is a whole nother thing that just frustrates me, that we are so easily swayed from what we all know the truth is. You know what I mean? The truth is that racism is alive and it's well in America, and that it's not new. It's just that before we weren't able to see it as much. And because of the current person that's occupying the White House now, he's allowed people's true colors to show. Right. And the truth is, even in the Bible says that out of the abundance of your heart, your mouth will speak. And so if you speak a bunch of hate and rhetoric and you're disrespectful to people, that's because that's the way your heart is or whatever. So I support Colin Kaepernick. I knew that the NFL wasn't trying to give him no job. They're not trying to do that. And they don't want him in there. And it's unfortunate. And it's unfortunate that over 70% of the NFL players are Black. And then over 70% of the NFL fans are white. And some people are like, well, why can't we start our own league? Why don't we do our own thing? And it's like, well, I mean, it's money, but we have the money. We got it's just, I think there's, I was talking to my niece earlier today about some of the damage that's being done, that has been done in our community since slavery. And I don't think we realize sometimes how broken our spirits are in a lot of ways, and how much work we've done. I don't think we see enough of the work that we've done, so I think we still kind of get a little discouraged. We have made a lot of progress, but we still got a long way to go. So I'm with Colin Kaepernick. I love that brother. And if you want, I'm going to touch on one more thing about that, but if you got something that you how do you feel about it? What's your, just from somebody that you may not even really be into it? What's the word on the street? What's the word on the street? That's right. He's the biggest preacher I ever met in my life, though.
I play football, I just don't.
If he took his jacket off right now, you guys will see when he preaches, everybody listen. Nah, you won't swallow, bro. You the biggest. Hey, let me just tell a story I always tell every week, man. When I first met him, we was in Philly and going to a social justice thing in Philadelphia, and I walked into the hotel room. They're like, "Yeah, you're gonna be in here with Bishop Bowser." So I was like, "Oh, I'm in here with a little pastor." I'm used to seeing regular sized pastors. You know what I mean? I walked into a super sized pastor, chest all out. I said, "Man, what?" I said, "How you doing?" He said, "Hey, man, I'm about to go hit the gym, homie. Had a room clean when I get back." I was like, "Man, where am I at?"
You gotta
No, I was like, "Man, what? Why I gotta clean the room, bro?" He had a tank top on with some old school Chuck Taylors and sweatpants on. He was up there like, "Man, had a room clean when I get back, G." I was like, "Wow, you guys have put me in with Bishop Bowser."
You put me out of this room.
No, I said, "Man, I thought he was fresh out." I said, "Man." So but anyway, so what do you think, just as a lay person, what is your view, and you're a little older in a sense of generationally or whatever. How do you see it, man, as an older brother? Like what do you think are some possibilities from your vantage point?
I think that, and it goes back to everything that I see happening in the Black community, and when you're coming up against systems, and it's basically you, for lack of a better way of saying it, in regards to Colin Kaepernick, is
call him Cap, Cap,
is that you criminalize they criminalized Blackness, criminalized Black culture, right? And so then anything that is tied to you being Black, it's wrong, it's evil, it's wicked. They are even trying to make it unlawful or whatever. And so I see the same thing with Colin and Cap. And I think one of the things that
Colin Cap.
I've been
hey brother, sorry about that.
All these couple of years, whatever. I've been always getting it wrong. But the thing that I see with this is what Cap is saying. At least I'm just saying what I think he's saying, if not what but knowing what's in his mind. What I believe Cap is saying is that, or what I get from this is that he's telling the system that I'm a free Black man, right? And I can't be bought, because whatever you're talking about, when you talk about our community, when you talk about systems and everywhere and Black people, and there's a key word that you use, a couple words, sell out, right? And you put that as one word. And that's what's happened most of the time. And most Black people, to be successful, to really become rich and have money and all those stuff. Most of the time, you have to sell yourself out to the system. You know, you have to compromise with the system.
Right.
You have to go along and to get what you want out of it, right? And so Cap is basically saying, I'm gonna do it my way. And so I appreciate that he's doing it that way. And of course, you have your house Negroes that like Steve and some of the other guys that are going to, you know, got something to say. They always want to say something to criticize and put down. And it's okay. We can sit at the kitchen table among us and have our disagreements and so on. But, you know, when we get out there in public, you know, I think Black people, we got to unite. You know, I know Stephen was trying to say, I saw one of his videos where you're trying to say, well, nigga, I've always been down for Black people, all this other kind of stuff, trying to justify what he was saying. And he was down for Cap and all that. But, you know, I think that what ended up happening is that people lose focus on what the real issue is, right? We talk about all that, but Cap was getting down on his knees because Black men and women, Black folks were being killed. He said the bodies that are too many bodies on the ground, right? Black bodies that are on the ground from police brutality. And that's where the real issue is. And that's what the problem was, and oppression and mass incarceration that we're dealing with. That's what he was taking. I believe that he was taking a knee to, and what he said he was taking a knee to. And we still have that problem. And so I saw what's Eric Reed, whatever his name is.
Eric Reed.
I think he's still taking
Carolina
a knee.
He sure is.
He's still taking
sure
a knee. So hey, you know, I give all respect to Cap and keep doing what you're doing. What some of those other folks are doing, the same thing on a lower level. A smaller level, I should say, in the community of what we're dealing with, right? When you talk about sellouts and people that will compromise, whatever. People always, like you talk about money. The work I've been doing, especially with the body presenters, working with Tasha them and so on. I've been doing it for like 10, 11 years, right? Only 1 year we got funded. You know, but all the other years when you're dealing with violence intervention and prevention and so on, and dealing with the gang issues, we've been doing this for free. You know, no salaries, no nothing, no. I mean, maybe something for hats and caps and things like that, or computers and stuff like that, but nothing.
No real support.
Exactly, no real support. We've been doing this for a while, but at the same time, people accuse us all the time of being about the money, like you talking about with homework. You know, you do it for free, but sometimes people can get it twisted and think. And what it does, it takes the focus off the real sellouts. It takes the focus off of the people who really kind of, like you said, you hit it right on the head. They'll butter up to these folks to get 100,000, 200, 340. I don't think $1 million. I don't think $1 billion is worth selling out for. I got principles, you know, and I'll die broke, but a free Black man. Ain't nobody gonna own me. Right. Nobody own me, right? And so, you know, those organizations, some organizations have beat me out of money and things like that because I refuse to be a sellout. I refuse for you to own me and tell me what to do. Because the first thing they want to do is offer you some money or offer you a job or whatever they want to offer you, and then tell you this is our code of conduct on this job. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do it. Now they own you. Nobody ever owned me. I'll get a sleeping bag and sleep out on the streets before I sell myself out like that. You know what I mean? And I believe God would take care of me and God would look out for me. And that was one of the things that happened because you're talking about these nonprofits.
Do you snore? Do you snore?
Yeah, I do.
Because I was gonna say, as long as I got a home, no, I usually offer that to people, man. But I gotta start adding little things in there, man. But you know that's important, though, man. You know what? But I want you to know that, man. I think it's publicly we need to say these things and be reminding one another that, you know, this is a struggle for all of us, and you'll never be homeless, bro. As long as I got, unless we both get kicked out,
exactly.
We both get kicked out, then we gonna be in trouble. But if I got a place, bro, then you ain't gonna never be homeless, bro. So we down to the wheels fall off, and it don't matter. We've been doing this till the wheels fall off. It's okay.
But they always, you know, because when I think about, you know, I forget that group that came from New York when they started that community mentors thing. But one of the guys' name was Ruben Australia, and he was at that time, I think he was working with Gerald Brown, them. And he still works with them. The guy from San Diego State. I can't think of his name right now.
Is he a professor?
Yeah. And all those guys, they still work there. But when they came here,
is it Luke Wood?
No. Latino John. And when they came here, they said, "Oh, I want you to meet this guy," and you know, so you know, take him around, show him around the city, and different things like that. And so I don't know really what he's looking for. But what ended up happening is that when they started meeting with the community, say, hey, we want to help y'all connect with these systems so you can get this funding and all these different kind of things. But then what I realized is that these guys had all this funding they got to come in and do this. And so my thing is like, don't come to me on the back end and want me to do free work for you where you continue to get paid and I don't get nothing. You know, pay me, let me know, give me that option up front and bring me on when you are negotiating your contract and trying to get the funding things. And so I stopped working with them. You know, there was, you know, some of these guys that got the funding now, finally through probation, they got the funding now and they, but they kissed their butts, right? They kiss their butts, they kiss probation butt, they kiss the system butt, and they're getting some money, right? I ain't kissing your butt. And I know they don't like me for that. And I speak out, you know, but then when you speak out and you call them out, they think you're in it for the money, right? You know, no, they think you're mad because, you know, either you want money or you that's all you're about is money. Me and Tasha just dealing with an issue just a couple of days ago, right? And for a whole year dealing with these folks about funding, right? And they came to us and said, hey, we want to fund your work. And so we're meeting with them for a whole year, you know, and they told us what we need to do. We did everything we were supposed to do. Then they come and switch it up again. So I'm like, hey, I'm not going another step with them unless you put something down in writing, you know, and because if I'm going to do, if you said these are the next steps that you need me to do after I thought I did everything I was supposed to do, then put it in writing. Put it in writing what you're going to do. And they were unwilling to do that. But then one of the guys that this new guy they brought in, we're going to tell other people that we're in it for the money. And I'm like, ain't this something? Y'all came to us. We didn't come to you. Yeah. And you ain't going to just, you know, constantly push me around. I'm not for that. I'm not going to jump through all these hoops for a few dollars. You know, if we're going to come, we're going to do something. You tell me what you want and I'll do it. And once I do that, you still got all these other different things and stuff that you talking about, do this, sign that. No. We ain't going there with that. You either do it. Same with Ace. You know, you pack Ace. They beat me out of some money too, right? And then they still work in our community. But what they want you to do, they want you to work for them. But if you say, no, I'm not going to work with you. I'll be a consultant. You can pay me. And so then it seems to all these who you sign a contract, they say, sign a contract, give us the time you're done, and we'll pay. Then they come up with something else, they come up with something else, they come up with something else, they come up with something else that they can get you with something to where that, I don't have that. How am I going to do that? You know? And so then it's like, oh, so y'all just beat me out of money. I've been doing this work all these months. And now I don't get nothing. So my thing is like, and so I don't fool with you. When I'm done with you, I'm done with you. And then they make it seem like, oh, well, you know, he didn't do everything we asked him to do. Well, no, I'm not going to be your little whipping, but you're not just going to push me around and order this, that, and this, and that, this, and that. It don't work like that.
Let me ask you this. That don't sound very pastorly, is what some people would say. How do you answer that? You're a pastor. You're a pastor. How do you say that as a pastor? You're a bishop. What do you know what I mean? Like, how do you answer?
Show me my sin.
Hey, say that again. No, for real.
Show me my sin.
Hey.
The Bible says, "Be angry and sin not." You know, and I have passion about what I'm dealing with, and yes, some of the stuff gets me a little upset and angry. But the Bible says, "Be angry." Jesus got angry. Y'all still got angry.
Don't nobody want to talk about the Jesus that went in there and flipped the tables over. Everybody want to talk about the little meat one, but he went up in there and just took it. And how you
not only that, but when the man with the withered hand on the Sabbath day, because the Sabbath day is feeling that he shouldn't heal on the Sabbath day, and he said, "Is it right to do good or do evil on the Sabbath day?" And they were like, they didn't say nothing. He got angry with them, right? But he did the right thing, right? He said, "Stretch out your hand," and he broke their man-made rules, right, to do the right thing. And so it's about whose rules you breaking. Yeah. And who laws you come up against, because they told Peter them, you know, to stop preaching, stop doing. They say, you know, we are to obey God rather than man, and you be the judge of that. You know, so far as the way I see it, I'm under God's law, God's rule, and I respect all people and things like that. But I believe you're speaking the truth too. Yeah. And most times if I come out on somebody, I've already dealt with you internally and exhausted that before I come out here.
What's interesting, and the reason why I bring that up is because, you know, I think. And, you know, we talk about this a lot, the colonization of Christianity and how it has preached to only turn the other cheek and that's it. You know what I mean? Never get angry about nothing, right? And it's only y'all follow the rules, not us kind of stuff.
Right.
You know, just all this kind of stuff. And so I think it's important I think it's important. I know that
when it comes to violence now,
I get it.
I am gonna walk away.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm not a violent person, and that's the thing that folks need to understand. But that don't mean, like you say, that I'm not gonna disrupt some stuff.
Yeah.
You know, that don't mean like I won't put you on blast.
Oh, yeah.
That don't mean I won't write an op-ed or go on news and put you on Front Street. Because that's the only way you can frame the narrative, and that's the only way you can push what you want to push out there. Because otherwise, they're gonna be in control of everything.
Well, I think going back to what you said, I think that's why I think it's important for us to realize what this system is designed to do. It criminalizes everything black. It don't matter. It's interesting how even in simple stuff, man, and you hear this a lot. People talk about this a lot, but it's like, when you see, like, say, let's just look at the NFL since we started off with Colin Kaepernick. Kaepernick, or say a Caucasian quarterback slam his helmet down. He's passionate. Look at the passion in that guy, right? And then if somebody black slam his helmet down, it's like, man, he's angry. He's out of control.
Criminalizing blackness, right?
And I think, and it's interesting, man. I think it's important for us to continue to talk about what's in people's hearts, right? What's in people's hearts. And one of the things we talked about, I think it was yesterday, or was it today? I can't remember.
Today we talked today.
I don't know who's on first. I don't know what's today anyway. Is it Sunday, Monday? What day?
Exactly.
Is it Christmas? I don't even know where I'm at right now. But and I don't do drugs. But one of the things we talked about though is that we, I think, have a primary responsibility to agitate the church. Right? We're both Christians, unapologetically, and have a fiduciary responsibility to agitate the church. You shouldn't be sitting around silent. You can't just talk about the three things: guns, marriage, and abortion. You can't just keep sitting on those things. Like, God cares about much more. It doesn't make sense for you to care more about the 36 weeks that a young black baby's in the womb. You care more about that than the 36 years after the baby's born. Right. That's hypocritical and it's silly. Right. And you should be just as concerned. You don't want the woman to have the ability to do what she wants with her body, but you want the police to be able to do what they want to do with their guns. That's crazy. That's ridiculous to me. And so I think we need to talk about that. I think the church needs to get uncomfortable. I think we need to continue to tell the church it's time for you to stand up. These are image bearers. We need to have more conversations. We've talked about this before too. I was talking to my niece today who's, we were just talking about the idea of, like, man, people have value and dignity. And we need to sit down with people and listen to the things that they're saying, get to know people on a human level. And it's unfortunate because, and I was telling my niece today how, like, part of what happened with me, and I don't know where I learned the behavior. I think it's just conditioned in our culture to be super judgmental and just, you know what I mean? You just see somebody and you make up the way that you feel about this person before you even know what their name is. And I found out some really interesting perspectives today. Nature. Of course, it's the human nature that is void of God. And so I think it's also human nature for the unregenerate heart to look and be able to continue to criminalize black people and not say anything about it. You cannot. There's no way that you can tell me that you love God and you hate the person that's sitting next to you. You love a God that you cannot see, but you hate the person that you can. You cannot tell me that. That's a lie. And if you can watch a little, man, today, little baby Tamir Rice, he got killed. He was supposed to be, I believe, 12 years old today. How old he? Yeah, he's 12 when he got killed.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So I think today would have been 16, something like that. And I looked at the little, he was 12 in the photo that I saw. And I looked at his little smile and I was thinking, what could that little brother have done? Like, what? That little he couldn't even make an angry face. He couldn't even, he looked like such a baby. He couldn't even make a face scary enough to make you think he was going to do something. And for you to be able to watch that young brother get killed like that, watch the brother that they shot in his back. I can't even keep up with everybody's names. I mean, I can't even remember who all, but choking out Eric Garner. And there's no way you can watch these folks that the book says is created in the image of God and not look at that and be disturbed by it.
Right.
Just like you can't look at the NFL, this big old organization that's giving fake workouts, giving these fake carnival coupons to people when they show up or whatever, just so that they can continue to take advantage. One of the things I wanted to say too, man, in kind of to change gears, but they can't. Let me finish that thought. You can't continue to say that you love God and not love the folks that you see getting killed on a regular basis. You cannot tell me that. I do not believe, and there's no fruit in that.
Right.
I just want to say too, before we move on to talking about gun violence, is I had a conversation this week even about Jay-Z and his relationship with the NFL. I think that in light of everything that money does to people, I think it's important for us to monitor what Jay-Z does. I think it's important. We need to watch his steps and how all this stuff works. He needs to be accountable. People are saying it's only been 90 days. I know it's only been 90 days. That's fine. But a lot can happen in 90 days. We already had two people get killed. Both and John got killed in this 90 days, and Tatiana got killed in Texas, both of them in Texas. And where is the outrage? Like, to me, if you have this large organization that has publicly said we want to address the issues of racial violence and we want to better the relationship between the Black community and the police, and what better way than to stand on the side with these families in two cases where the police department said that they was wrong. So there's no chance to take. There's no chance to be on the wrong side of this. You can't be on the wrong side of what happened to Tatiana. The police department said the police officer was wrong. He tried to quit, and they said it don't matter. He can quit and move to Timbuktu. We coming to get him or whatever. He doesn't absolve his right, because right. And then with Bolton John, the police department, she murdered that dude. She murdered the dude. There's no question about it. So how come the NFL? How come that? Here's a time for you to build a bridge. If that's truly what you're trying to do, how come you didn't come out and say something? Where was this relationship? How did this relationship between Jay-Z and the NFL, how is it going to benefit the community? How is this not just about money? I'm just saying, man, like
that it is. It is about money. Ain't nothing else gonna come out of that. Come on,
man. What do you I mean, where are you at with that? What do you think? Let's move.
I think whenever they start using that kind of language, that's basically what it is. Money's involved, right? Or power, some type of influence, want to claim to be the leader of the Black people, whatever people try to do. But I think that in when you talk about substance, when you talk about action, talking about folks doing stuff, you have the wrong people in place, right? That's been our problem. Maybe it's an American problem, but I for sure know it's a Black people problem from the perspective that we allow these entertainers and celebrities and these people that have influence in high places, we want to label them and call them our leaders when they're not equipped to be our leaders, right? They don't have.
We go to the athletes instead of the scholars. We go to athletes and rappers and musicians and stuff like that to
some of these scholars are in our elitists too, and they're not wrong being elitist. But I just think that the problem is I think what has to happen, it should be grassroots. It should come from grassroots. It should, who was it? Carter G. Woodson, I believe he was talking, if you read one of his books, and he was talking about how that he was talking about like the pastor and a leader, he should be right there with his people. Should be crying with them, eating with them, sleeping with them, dying with them, suffering with them and everything. But these folks way up here somewhere and we're down here. And, we'll follow them on Twitter, Instagram, all these other kind of things and make them seem like there's some kind of hero because they'll do a video or whatever and frame a narrative a certain way. And you do need that kind of help to kind of frame the set platforms and frame narratives and things like that. But it should be leadership should be coming from and you should be talking to people. There's no one person that can make decisions for Black people, like with Comcast and all that, and these other different things that Black folks have been doing, signing contracts and so on with them Black organizations.
That's what Comcast did with not from Nan. What's the brother's name? You used to have a perm.
Nan. What's talking about Al Sharpton?
Yes, they got the dude from National Action Network, Al Sharpton, NAACP, and Urban League, Mark Morial. They got these, and it's like, all right, we signed a memorandum of understanding because they were coming against Comcast being able to get this big with this merger to become huge, and they're like, you can't do that. So they said, okay, we'll sign an MOU. and we'll bring our 3 Negro friends in, and we'll take a picture with them and pose with them, so you guys can see like we're coming in good faith. And it's like, where's the white guy that speaks for all the white guys? Is there one white guy that speaks for all the white guys?
Exactly.
Like who is he? Like where's he?
But when it comes to black folks,
and we just accept it. And so
exactly.
and that's why for me, when we see these kinds of things time and time again, we see people being willing to sue, willing to take money to sell us down the river. We need to say something about it, and we need to hold people accountable. And I think we need to get to the point where we can divorce ourselves from the mindset that, and you're right, educators don't get a pass. Mm-hmm. I understand. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, but my goodness, man, like, I mean, you would hope, I would hope that a person that has an education would have some form of a more well-rounded, and I could be biased.
Of the Negro.
There's no doubt. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be checked. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying, you don't see other cultures putting their soccer players and basketball mm-hmm. players and baseball players to speak for their people. That's what you don't see. Now, whoever you see, you don't see that. You don't see people going, I speak for everybody.
Yeah. As far as research and academia, I do respect the research that is done and the data that we can collect. But I'm just talking about in leadership in the sense, you don't, just because the person led in this, you don't suddenly put them out on the front lines to lead people, and everybody look to them and they making decisions for everybody and so on. So that's kind of why I have the issue with that. But my thing is when you talk about leadership and when you talk about black folks, you talk about criminalizing the black culture. I see it everywhere, man. I went to court last week for just to observe in court.
Court observer?
As a gang expert, because the gang unit was testifying. Okay. And, there was a couple of things I saw there, how they criminalized the black culture, right? Because in a video, this young man was using the N-word. And as a gang detective, is this how gang members talk? He said, yeah, that's their language.
Gang members say that?
And then when he talking about snitching, he said, oh yeah, in the gangs, that's, you try to make it seem like snitching was a gang thing rather than a street code, right? That's among all races, all groups, any criminal, that's one of the pact you make. You don't snitch on each other, right? But that's specifically a gang thing with these black guys, right? The snitching. And I'm just using those two things as an example of what I saw of how they criminalize our culture. First, you criminalize the culture, then the subcultures that we have. You can come in and say, yep, that's what gang members do right there, because it's already been criminalized, right? And so, even though you'll hear me use the N-word, but I know that that's not
indicative that you're in a gang. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. So pretty soon they're gonna be saying they're gonna have one of the how they have that 9. I really believe it's 10, but they say it's 9 things criteria they can look at to document you as a gang member. One of them gonna say if they use the N-word, or if they hate snitches or something, So, but it's and that's just a small example of what we're dealing with on a larger scale. You talk about black people and what we have to deal with, with this oppression that we've been going through since, slavery, man, and brought over.
They said apartheid only been over for 55 years.
We still dealing with it, Man. Right now today, it ain't over with. We still dealing with it. It just comes in different forms.
Well, they said it was ended, but the effects of it are still here. There's no question.
And you still have your house Negroes that sell you out. I don't have no problem with people, looking out for themselves and want to be successful, getting grants and contracts, but don't sell us out. Right? Don't sell us out. Be real and be real to your people. And if it comes to choosing between standing on principle or what's right or compromising and selling out for money, then you should choose standing on the principle. I love it. Whether, you lose whatever you lose, right? Yeah. Me and Tasha, we lost thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? The work that we do together in the community, we lost a lot of money. But, it's because of what we do.
But you can sleep good at night. Exactly. And that's how you can look into the cameras when they come and you tell them the things that they don't want to hear. I wish I could see my homie.
What can they do to me?
I wish I could see my homie in a suit. Bishop Bobby have his chest out like, this is what I mean. And they be like, oh my. And let me read a couple of the things that people are asking. So what's up, Drewski? Drew says, when will you have me on? You just let me know when you want to be on, brother. You got it like that. Jason Whitlock, my boy Drew. It's Jason Whitlock that spoke up with that was one of the people that was talking crazy. Money doesn't insulate you from racism. That's what Drew said. That's true. It doesn't matter. That's right. It doesn't matter. They shoot rich people. They profile rich people. They do everything. Chaz says there's a white God, black God, segregation only still exists in this country at church. They say Sundays is the most segregated time in the United States or whatever is Sundays. And then it's sanctioned that, so I'm not 100% sure. Let me see if this helps. So Chaz says, I get that white folks and others aren't affected by images or the idea of blacks dying, especially at the hands of police. Even to God, we're not good enough to worship at the same place. Oh, let me read that again. Yeah. That was that. Hold on. Take a little second. And my boy Chaz. We went to school.
Oh no, Chaz always chime in here.
Hey,
so
listen, let me just read this again because this is good. I get that white folks and others aren't affected by images or the idea of blacks dying, especially at the hands of police. Mm-hmm. Even to God, we're not good enough to worship at the same place. You follow that segregation, black church, white church, and we can't even worship at the same churches. So no wonder why they don't care. See that? That's one of those times where you hear something and you know the old preachers say,
but you know,
if you can't say amen, then just say ouch and get it over with.
My thing is that, you know, when you talk about it, I think that, you know, most of the black churches are segregated, but I don't see that in the white churches in the sense of when there's a white pastor, black people will flood to white churches, you know, whether Joel Osteen or all these different folks, they'll flood into these churches, but the white folks, I have a few white folks in my church, but white folks don't really flood into black churches, right? And so you see even the discrimination among pastors, where if you're a black pastor, you're not good enough to pastor white people, right? But a white pastor is good enough to pastor black people. The other thing that I would say about that is that not so much the segregation piece, but the church and the members and folks getting involved is that a lot of time we look to the pastor, which I think we should hold them accountable. But I think the people who should hold them accountable are their members that go to their church. Because what I have seen throughout the years in pastor myself is that these pastors can get away with anything and the members continue to go there and support them. So if members want to see something different, then they have to either hold their pastors accountable or go to the churches where the pastors are doing that. And they don't do that.
Well, you don't really see that though.
Yeah.
Like, when's the last time you saw like legitimate church discipline? Like legit.
All the time. When you have the right kind of leadership.
I know it's possible, but I'm saying, when do we see it? We don't typically see it that much.
But I think ultimately the people who have to hold the pastor accountable are the members. You know, of course, if you're part of an organization, you should have your elders and bishops and all that, your boards and different things that deal with certain things. Now, pastor get mad and pull out of that organization if he feels he's being treated unjust, and that's true enough. But I think ultimately, what really where accountability really is with those members, right? If the members are flooding in the church and giving all kind of tithes and offers to that church, pastor's gonna feel that he's free to do whatever he want to do. But if they're like, Pastor, we ain't going for this no more, and then I'm out of here, if whatever they're trying to hold them accountable for, but they don't do that, right? And if they do, they just go to another crook. Right, they go to another church, another crooked pastor that don't care about nothing but numbers and money.
Well, I think a lot of it comes because there's a sense of like be like a cult of personality, right? I think a lot of
charisma
is charisma. That's
but it's also
a lot.
It's also here's the other.
I don't agree with that mode of pastoring, but that's what I think happens.
And this came out, and I think this came out of the white churches when you talk about the white Catholic Church was one of the powerful churches in the world. And when Martin Luther broke off from the church, even Martin Luther, when you look at Martin Luther, who was the monk that protested against the Catholic Church,
the 95 Thesis.
That protested against the church. Even when you look at him, the reason why he was so powerful as a monk and grassroots doing work down here, the people got his back.
So check this out.
People got his back.
Check this out. So the new word for that nowadays is proximity, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you look at even like the 6th chapter of Hebrews that talks about God chose the high priest from where? From amongst the people. Why? So that they can have compassion on the people. So they don't walk
they're weak themselves.
They don't walk into the holiest of holies and go, God, those people out there, those
because they're himself.
They say we, us. They say us. We're all a part of it. And then that's kind of if you think about the story of the gospel, right? Mm-hmm. The message of the gospel is that God became a man. He divested himself. Let this mind be in you that was also in Christ Jesus, who though being in the form of God, considered it robbery to make himself equal with God. But he left all of that. He gave up that particular thing, and he became a servant even unto the point of death. And so you see the story of the gospel is even God became a man and became the lowest of men, and he died.
Well, I don't say God became a man, but I believe it's different. I believe different. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. But you see God condescending to suffer. You see the idea is that something high became something low and died with a bunch of criminals. And so, and that's why I believe it's the church's responsibility. And homeless ministries are great. That's fine. I'm not opposed to that, man. That's fine. But there's other things too, like we talked about before. Prison ministry is great, but why don't we work on shutting the prisons down? Yeah. Why don't we work on eradicating the problem? Right. Why don't we work on doing that? To me, that seems like more of a thing that God would want to do, is in something like that. But that's a whole
nother with policing, right? I mean, because I wish you had Amy here, because she lives out in La Jolla. If they don't, I mean, the police only come when they call them, right? You know what I mean? They're not being over police. They don't have, you don't have to worry about the police all over the place. They only come when they come. Even if we really want to change system, we need to change it that way too. But when you criminalize a community, when you criminalize Black people, then they want to look at it from the perspective, we got to get in and prevent crime from happening because these folks are criminals. And then when the studies come out, and show that you pull over Black folks and you never find nothing. And you pull us over 100 times more than anybody else, and nothing else ever happens. Everywhere. It's crazy. The SDSU audit report.
Don't nobody want to hear that. Don't start speaking truth.
The Reaper reports came out.
Don't nobody want to hear the truth.
You go to a different place where they do study.
Black people are criminals. Black people are criminals. Don't try to change the narrative, sir.
But here's the thing, that somebody brought a good point on this, and what the problem is that you're stopping all these Black people that are not criminals. That's why you're not getting anything. The only time you're gonna stop a white person is when they are a criminal, and you know they're criminal, and that's why you get something. And so that's why the reports come out and show that they stop a lot of Black people, but the folks who they get most of the drugs and different things from is white people, because they only stop them when they need to. And that's where it should be in our community too. Only stop us when you need to.
And that's part of flipping the narrative. And here's to show how powerful narrative is. And I want to finish shouting out these folks that are asking. But when I talk to the young folks about certain things, I say, let's talk about how powerful a narrative is, right? Just to show young people, like, you are. So I say, if I say firefighter, what comes to your mind? What gender and ethnicity comes to your mind? And you ain't got to say nothing. I already know what it is. It's a tall white guy with a mustache. That's the way it is. I know that's exactly what. If I say nurse, think male or female. 99.9% of the time, you think of a female. If I say lawyer, how many people gonna say, "Oh, it's a female," right? Because if I say doctor, if I say judge, what if I say criminal? And I tell them, don't answer. But I'm just saying, just in your heart, be honest with yourself. When I say criminal, what picture comes to your mind? When I say crackhead, when I say drug addict, when I say thief.
Look, I can, and I'll post it on my Facebook page. People want me to do it, but Jennifer Everhart, and she's a professor, a researcher at, I think, Stanford. And she did a report that actually showed that, right? Demonstrated that, is that they showed pictures of white people and Black people, right? And when they were talking about crime and violence, and it showed all the pictures of Black, their eyes started going towards the Black people, right? And even from the perspective when they were trying to get a law passed, I don't know if it was Prop 47 or the resentencing law. Before they was doing it, they were trying to show the injustice of a lot of people being locked up for unfair things, right? When they showed a whole bunch of white people that were locked up for unjust reasons of getting life in prison for having a can of beer or something like that, they were willing to sign it. But if they came the same narrative and talked and showed a bunch of Black people, they wouldn't want to sign it, right? Yeah. Sign that
but people don't want
signature to have it put on the ballot, right?
People don't want to hear that type of truth, though. People don't, and that's another reason. If you look at image bearers and you don't care, nothing moves you. I'm asking, how are you a Christian? If you realize that somebody's lying, or you're not accepting the truth, if the truth is not something that you readily accept in your life, how are you Christian? Right. I mean, we need to start asking this kind of stuff, man. Like, how are you if Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, I'm the way, the truth. He's the truth. So if he's in you and you're in him, how does the truth not bother you? It should move you to action. And when you see people being treated unfair, when you see opportunities to do what's right and you don't do it, it's just like in I believe it's James, where it says, if someone comes to your door and knocks and asks for food and you don't give it to them, what's the question that's asked? And it's rhetorical. If you see your brother destitute and in need of daily bread and you have it within your means to do it and you don't do nothing, the question the writer asks is, how does the, and it's rhetorical, don't answer it, there ain't no question mark. How does the love of God live in you? How does it live? How does the love of God live in you, man? Ask yourself that. If you see somebody that needs something, and I'm talking about advocacy, if you see somebody needs advocacy, it's not just food and drink. And if you look at, even Jesus says at when he separates the wheat from the goats, I mean, from the sheep, I guess wild weeds. The goats are going to eat. Goats and sheep. Sorry, he's not going to separate the goats from the wheat. The wheat from the chaff, but the goats and sheep. And the criteria he uses is not you were educated, you got great attendance in church. You know what I mean? He said,
"Depart from me."
By the way, he got the list out and he said, "Okay, let's see. I was hungry, I was thirsty, I was naked, and I was in prison.
I was sick.
You didn't.
Home. Yeah.
You didn't do none of that, huh? Okay, you go over there. You did that. You go over here." And they said, "Well, when did we ever see you hungry or naked or thirsty or ever in prison?" And he says, "Whenever you do it for the least of them, you did it for me."
And I think
so what my thing is that if you want to know where God is, then go to the least of them. That's where God, if you want to meet with God, God is going to be with the people that have the least of it. Those are the folks that are being taken advantage of with these incredible, ridiculous sentences. We got these mandatory minimums. Somebody could do a crime that requires 2 years, but because of these silly gun enhancement, drug enhancements, like we heard from brother, he's gonna be, I can't think of his name, the brother that we interviewed the other day, Bobby. You think about Bobby, that this brother said crack is penalized 100 times what cocaine gets criminalized. So something like that. Something he said, I thought he said it was 100 times. So if you got an ounce,
I think it's 1 gram versus 500 grams.
But I'm saying if you have 1 gram of cocaine and I got 1 gram of crack, you're gonna get sentenced for 1 gram's worth. I'm gonna get sentenced for 1,000 or for 100 grams, 500 or 500. And you know why they do that? Because it criminalizes. So my thing is, if you can see stuff like that, if you can see things like that happening, and it is, the stats don't lie. We use statistics for everything. We use statistics for everything. If you can look at statistics like that and it doesn't move you to action, if it doesn't move you to say this is wrong, this is wrong for these people to be in prison for these ridiculous sentences. But guess what? And you don't do nothing. I want to know where's God at it.
But guess what? This is how powerful narratives are, right? When they are framed. When you well,
that was my coffee.
Oh, okay.
They wasn't telling you to be quiet. Keep talking. The aliens are here.
But this is how powerful narratives are, right? Because even when those narratives are framed like that, you criminalize the community, Black community, even Black people buy into it, right? Because the Black caucus bought into that crack thing. Black folks were probably saying you got to do something about it and so on, right?
Get it out of our community.
It's our own people. I mean, some of our own people are scared of our own Black young men. You know, walk down the street, they walk across the street because they're scared of them, because they don't understand and don't know. And so, you know, we can have this problem even within our own culture, not because they ever been assaulted or robbed by one of those Black guys, but because of what the narrative is, right? So even our own people start believing the narrative that white supremacy put out there about Black people. And that's what this country is all about. And we've been dealing with that forever. I give you another example. I know you want to go to some of the other stuff because we're talking about funding and things like that. And one of the things that me and Tasha, I was talking to Tasha about the other day is that, and she witnessed it herself. And really she had called me down there when they was going to get out the funding to speak. So I witnessed it too. But they'll get white organizations, they'll give them millions of dollars without even questioning them, right? They're sole source, which means you don't have to even compete for it. Don't have to go through procurement. You don't have to have no public hearings on it or anything. I'm talking about millions of dollars, right, to these white organizations. Then a Black person come along, creative, have an innovative idea. Oh, we got to do research. We got to do this. We got to have public hearings, and we got to talk to you. We got to do all these different things. And then when they do it, they end up robbing you of your program and taking your program, or they'll throw you some nuggets, and then when you kind of like call them on it, oh, you're greedy. You just want a lot of money. You just about the money, you know. But they just say that to these white folks that got millions, right? And so that's what we're dealing with. And even these so-called politicians that folks call themselves voting on, saying that they're for you, all they doing is throwing you some niggas too. They're really not addressing the issues in the Black community. And that's the trauma that we're dealing with. The communities being underserved. We're still dealing with gentrification. We're still dealing with a lot of our young people. They call it ACEs and all this other kind of stuff. But a lot of these mental things our young people are going through the trauma that they have suffered, through violence, through different things that they have seen growing up and coming up. And remember, when you talk about violence, it's not just community violence and domestic violence, we talk gun, but it's police violence too. And not even police understand, right? Trauma. From the perspective of why that young Black man is running from me. He must got a gun. He must got, no, he's running because he's afraid, right? The last time he had an experience with you, he was traumatized, beat down, arrested, taken to jail for something that he didn't even do.
Or he might be running because he got something in his pocket. So what? That doesn't give you the right to kill him. That's the part to me. Like, I think we have to nuance. It doesn't matter. There's a way that you treat people when you recognize, when you meet somebody and automatically you assign value, automatically you assign a nature, a God nature, like a image bearer, somebody that has value and dignity. If we start there, the conversation starts differently, right? So,
but why would they do that when our community don't even stand together, right?
They won't.
Because here's the thing.
Well, they not.
And I wrestle with this because I don't want to be selfish, and I don't want to just say like, "Oh, you got to do something for me," right? But with speaking out things that I do, I can go and make money, do all these other kind of things too, right? I have plenty of opportunities to do those kind of things. That's what I wanted.
That's right.
But I care about my community. I love my community, and I'm there, right? But when you cry and when you speak out against oppression, when you speak out against racism and white supremacy and so on, which is tied into police and how our communities are police, tied into the criminal justice system, they retaliate against you. And these same crooked chiefs and police officers and captains and lieutenants and so on, assistant chiefs, they line themselves up with these guys. But then what ended up happening is the people that's speaking out, you're punishing them. But then this group of community people go meet with them. And my thing is, why are you meeting with them when they're mistreating some of your other leaders in the community? We don't even stand together when it comes to that. And then you got these sellout pastors that got their own little thing that they're doing in meetings. Or somebody got me. We got no. They
talking about you got to be at the table.
When you talk about a revolution, man.
What's the point?
When you talk about a revolution,
yeah. You gonna let somebody stab you in the eye just so you can sit at the table? Get up out of here, man. I don't need to sit at. We sitting at the table right now.
And they think because they're at the table, they're not on the menu, but they're still on the menu, right? They're still being used, and they're
somebody's trying to find out. Let me log off of here right now. I don't want to hear that type of stuff. Yeah, I know you don't, but it's true. It's true. But here's the thing, man. Let me just say a couple more things, and then we're gonna go because we almost had our hour, and we don't want to be on too long. Let me just say, man. Tasha says it's super hard, and Tasha Williamson is one of the, I believe, one of the hardest working women for social justice that we have in San Diego. She shows up.
Yeah,
Tasha's running
good at what
for
she
mayor.
do too.
Tasha's running for mayor. Tasha for mayor 2020. Tasha's my little sister. I love Tasha. I love you, Tasha. Period. I seen you get down. I know how you rock. You stay up late for folks. You get up early for them.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about getting up early. My sister, she sometimes y'all be up too late. Y'all be up. Y'all was texting the other day, man. I got a text from somebody at 1 a.m. I said I almost rebuked, but I said these is pastors.
And you know what? I turned it off sometimes.
So let me. So I just wanted to say that this is coming from the heart of a sister that is really out here doing the work, and really doesn't have a home of her own. She's living in poverty, and she's running for mayor, living in poverty. So let me just say that it's super hard to get people to sign a petition to get my name on the ballot.
Wow.
She need to get people to sign it.
They need to start signing.
She said I went to the American Legion and was totally disrespected by the commander. She said I asked the commander, the guy who runs the American Legion.
Who are they?
Down on 47th Street. It's a
black group.
Yeah. Yeah. And the commander, I asked him to help me get acquainted with all that they do and how can he help. So he's like, do you know what we do? She goes, no. How many people know what the American Legion do? I don't know what they do. Like,
I know they have parties down there.
That's what we do know. You get turned up. We know that. But I'm like, who knows that? Like, that's not you shouldn't feel disrespected. And he basically said, hell no. He raved about Barbara Bree showing up by herself. So, which that didn't happen. Another candidate for mayor that doesn't know anything about Southeast.
So what he's saying about her showing up by herself?
Because Tasha didn't know what was going on at the American Legion. He wasn't going to help her get no signatures to get her name on the ballot. So we don't even believe in democracy because somebody don't know.
The part about you said something about Barbara Breed.
He said that she came down by herself
and
went into the American Legion.
So that was a great thing. Is that what he was saying?
You think she went by herself? No, that's
I don't know. I wasn't there, but even if she did, was that something great or something?
She didn't go by herself. Mm-hmm. She never go. They never go anywhere.
By themselves,
They never go anywhere by themselves.
Right.
Never.
Right.
These folks that come into our community need guides.
Right.
You will get lost over in Southeast. Right. You will get lost. Ain't nobody going over by themselves. Stop it. Mm-hmm. So it's unbelievable. Millions of dollars will go to white organizations this is still Tasha, who have been damaging, steal other people's work, and afraid to help people in their community. Mm-hmm. She says, we are data points for dollars. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. Yeah. Some don't complain when it happens. Some won't sue for damages. Some just accept it and let time run out. That's what Tasha says.
That happens.
Earl McNeil's family is suing 15 officers in the entire city. They're standing up. Earl McNeil is the one that got killed in National City. Yeah. He died of being double socked, bent over the whole nine. They killed Earl McNeil. Aaliyah Jenkins, the sister that died last year. Yeah. Her son is standing up. Mm-hmm. Tasha says, love both of you. Love you too, Tasha. Mm-hmm. You know that. We love you too. Yeah. And then she said about Barbara Breed that she is their savior, that somehow how these because that's what Black organizations, for some reason, we know every election season, mm-hmm. they make their little tour circuit of the churches. And some of our folks, man, you know what I'm saying? We like to grandstand and take pictures with these candidates, and we want to look popular and famous and you know what I mean? Whatever. And it's unfortunate.
Malcolm X. Have you listened to Ballad of the Bullet?
Ballad of the Bullet, of course. I'm gonna listen to it again.
So you heard him when he talked about he said that white politician coming to the community,
have coffee, have
coffee with a couple of black folks, black ladies. Then they come and say the man is all right.
And we act like
they
we
still
don't
doing
know.
that though. That was in the 60s, right? They're still doing that right now today, man. The man, that's all they're gonna do, have some coffee with you. Yeah. And you're gonna have that meeting. They might point one of you on their staff or something like that.
None of them ever gets put on staff. Well, I don't want to call nobody out, but so Drew says, wow. Chaz says sad, Tasha, but believable. Drew mm-hmm. says we have to change the status quo.
Yeah.
And Drew's hashtag is real thug. Mm-hmm. So well, man, we're at our hour. We didn't get to talk about gun violence. We'll talk about that next time. That's something that I'm good about what we talked about. I hope everybody enjoyed the stuff that we talked about. And I think I just want us to stay engaged, man. Everybody who's out here fighting the fight, stay engaged. One of the
my thing is, and what not cut you off, but my thing is like even if you don't, even if you don't support Tasha. You should still sign if you believe in democracy,
just
give her a chance to compete. Sign it.
Let her.
She only need 200. How much she need?
Well, I have to ask her.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how many she needs.
Just sign it.
Lord. Give her a chance. We need to give ourselves a chance. But I think, and even with Tasha, you know what I mean. Don't quit, sis.
But all our sisters are going through that in the political arena. They're all dealing with it.
Absolutely. I wanted to bring my niece on to talk a little bit about some of the things that she's doing, and we had a great conversation. But we're gonna try to figure out how to bring folks on to the camera to be able to do some stuff. But she'll be leaving tomorrow. But it's cool. We can let's end because we're past our hour. But seriously, it's ridiculous.
But one of the things, man, I see some of these folks that be doing their live on YouTube and all that. Man, they be going 2 hours. I know what we want to do. We got to work up to that. When you have 15, 20,000 people coming in, going it out, you can do that.
Hey, let's introduce you real quick. You want to get introduced real quick? Yeah. Come on. Yeah. Let's introduce my niece.
I'll move over here.
Let me introduce my niece real quick. Yeah. Let her know let her know what's going on. This my niece right here. My niece Tish, what's going on, Miss Jones?
Hanging out,
Yeah.
listening to y'all.
Yeah.
It was a good conversation. It
Man.
really took some winding roads. I was going live on Instagram.
Oh, were you?
Bunch of different
I still gotta learn how to do live on Instagram.
Oh yeah, it's fun. They interacting the whole time. It was
That's good. Well, can you just real quick, and we'll get up out of here. Can you just give a little bit of history of what you do? What does your work do? What do people need to know about you? And y'all listen up real quick because she's trying to get plugged in San Diego. So will you just briefly do it, and then we're gonna wrap up. We'll wrap it up with you.
For sure. Okay. So my name is Tish Jones. I'm a poet. I'm a cultural producer. I run a nonprofit based out of St. Paul, Minnesota called True Art Speaks. Our mission is to cultivate literacy, leadership, and social justice through the study and application of hip hop culture. We teach in schools, prisons, shelters, etc. Our target population is young people between the ages of 13 and 24 who have been historically rendered invisible. We also understand that in order to best serve that population, you got to work with the folks around them. So we work with babies, we work with adults, we believe in intergenerational conversations, and etc. I'm trying to get plugged down here
In San Diego,
just to do some more work to build, to see what's going on. I think that it's important for Black folks across the world to learn about other folks' experiences. That's me. That's me. Yep. So that's what I'm talking about.
That's
I'll be
what's
back.
up. You want to share the name of your organization?
True Art Speaks.
True Art Speaks. And how can they find you? What's your Instagram and social media so they can start following you?
It's all True Art Speaks, yo. So True Art Speaks on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of it. There's no E in truth. So it's TruArtSpeaks. I am the Tish Jones on all social media as well.
You hear that?
TISHJONES.
Yeah, it's my A. So can I put you on the spot real quick to see if you could bust a quick one real quick?
Come on.
You want to hit him with a little 30-second real quick, niece? Hit him with a little 30-second joint real quick.
30 seconds.
Hit him with a minute. Hit him, give him something. We gonna cut it off after that.
Okay.
Prison. I'll do the end of the joint. It's called Tracks. And it's in that TEDx stuff that I sent you today.
Oh, I'm gonna put her TEDx on there too.
Yeah, you can look at that. Let's see. The fifth floor was for the academic acronyms like AP and IB. The fourth floor was for the quest learners, second to the best grade point average earners. The third was whatever. The second was pass, and the first was us, the theater class. How we were placed in this system, also tracks. I'm gonna fast forward, give you a little bit. So that's about high school and how they track you in high school. From, they track the prisons. Every floor is designed lowest level learners, supposedly, and then the IB on the fifth floor. So fast forward. So beautiful Black women born and bred to believe that beauty belongs to everyone but them. So they die and they fry and they try to fit in many ways, allowing trains to leave tracks on their thighs because the tracks attached to the root of her naps, which hang to the middle of her back, reduce self-respect. And she is all right with that. They call her a runner, making laps on laps, known as a track star. She is right on someone else's track. Then there's a little boy whose father was sent away yesterday. You feel me? Of course he's having a bad day. He's in the hallway, frustrated, fighting to keep his tears to himself. And she walks by, smart, skinny, makes failing a test seem hard. If you don't believe me, peep her report card. Anyway, she and he were cool. They went to the same school, hung in the same crew, did things that two best friends would normally do until one day after taking that test, she got labeled advanced and he got labeled a fool. Dropped out of school, did what he felt he had to, became a star mathematician, a genius in the kitchen, studied how different greens and whites would help with his addition, financial advisor for women, pimping and flipping. Now my man fights his tears inside of a prison right next to Pops. You feel me? Pause.
Wow, that's powerful.
We're gonna end on that.
Yeah, that's good.
Full versions online.
Listen, I'm a post my niece's stuff on Facebook so you guys can check it out. Follow her on Instagram. We love you guys. Thank you so much for those of you who stayed with us the whole time. For those that watch later on, we love you. We appreciate you. The race is not given to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, but it's given to the one who endures to the end. So continue to move. We're gonna do this together. We're gonna win, and we love you guys. Take care. Let's turn this thing off. Come on now. End it.
Yeah. Thank you for coming. Yeah. And are you on Twitter? You say too?
Mm-hmm.
Let me find you. Find it. It's dark. My wife put it dark on nights and light at day. I guess it's good for the eyes. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. That's good. That's what I need that too. I put it on.